Okay, Games Workshop have announced they're releasing the old world soon, and Warhammer Fantasy Battles is coming back. And if you're wanting to get back into it and want to build a Bretonnian army, but don't want to buy Games Workshop figures, then I might have some historical alternatives in which you could use. So yeah, Games Workshop have announced Old World's coming back, and Warhammer Fantasy Battles is on its way. They've limited some of the armies that are coming back, so not everything from what was in Warhammer Fantasy is coming back. But one of the armies it is Bretonnians. Now, if you're wanting to build a Bretonnian army before it comes out, before the game is released, you're going to have to sort of scour around for Bretonnian units, or you could look at historical alternatives, and which is what I'm going to do today. We're going to have a look at a couple of manufacturers that produce plastics, and one that produces metals that will be perfect for Bretonnians, and they're in a reasonable price, and they fit quite nicely into the sort of aesthetic of Bretonnia. So let's go take a look at what I've found on the net and see if you like any of them. Okay, the first company we're going to look at is Fireforge Games. They do a range of different historical periods, but what we're mainly concerned with is the medieval. So the first thing we're going to look at is they've got what they call Western Knights, and these are perfect alternatives to use for a Bretonnian army. And everything I'm going to show you is perfect for alternatives to Games Workshop miniatures if you don't want to use Games Workshop miniatures. For the Western Knights, you get 28mm multi-part plastic Western Knights with barded horses, with several choice of weapons, heads and accessories. So all of their Fireforge's plastic kits are multi-part, as you'd expect, and as you can see, you've got a range of weapon options there. Everything from lances to hand weapons of a varying variety. The next I'm going to look at is mounted sergeants. These could be added as light cavalry, protect your flanks, that sort of thing. And again, they're a multi-part kit. Again, I think this will make up 12 mounted individuals from this box set, and both box sets are £28. The next one I'm going to look at is Sergeant Arms, and again, you could use these as light cavalry to protect your flanks and other area parts, or to send in as mop-up after you sent your knights in. And again, these are a multi-part plastic kit. Again, this will make it 12 individuals. You've got a good variety of heads, shields, weapon options, including crossbow. So you could have mounted crossbow. I'm not sure how effective those are. I mean, you'd probably go looking at a unit that can fire one shot and then has to go to hand weapons. But it could be quite an effective way of delivering a punch before you actually get close into combat. And then they do foot knights. Again, these are a multi-part plastic kit. Good variety of options there. And these will give you 30 individuals, 15 of which you could then build with two-handed swords. And anyone who wants to double up their Bretonnian army as historical, these will fit within the 11th to 13th centuries, all of these miniatures. Then we have foot sergeants. These are basically your core infantry. These are the sort of common units that you would produce. And as you can see, you can get a variety of different weapon options for them. So everything from spear, sword, and maces, axes. So, and you could also make up from this box crossbowmen. And there you can see all the different weapon options you can have. Again, this is multi-part plastic, and it will produce 48 miniatures for you, which one box and you've got your core inventory from one box to make up at least 2+ units from. And then finally we have the archers. And this is a quite good, nice versatile kit. It's just archers, there's no other weapon options, but it will give you a box of 24. Now, Fireforge also does fantasy options, and the one we're going to look at is Pegasus Knights. So this will give you that real fantasy flavour to your army. They only come in a box of 4, and they're a mixture of resin and plastic parts. Also, they do what's called Albion Knights, and if you wanted a knight that looks more sort of fantasy Bretonnian, then this is probably your better option. And these are the guys with all the sort of fantasy looking headgear. And again, these are a multi-part with various weapon options for you and head options. And again, I think that will give you 12 multi-part plastic Albion Knights. So £28, that'll give you 12 knights. So I have some of the Fireforge plastics here. I think these are all men at arms or sergeant at arms. Just to show you what they look like painted. And obviously on some of these figures I've added different shields on and stuff like that, just to sort of make them look a bit interesting. But they make perfectly good stand-ins for Bretonnians. And by using the historicals, like I've said before, you could they can double it up for a historical army. If you want to jump into play some historicals, you've got an army that will fit into any sort of medieval war game. Now obviously if you went and got some of the Pegasus Knights or some of the more fantasy elements, you're not going to be able to use those within a historical game. But on the whole, I mean, these are great for using in Warhammer Fantasy, and they'll also be useful in games such as Mordheim, if you ever decide to jump into something like Mordheim or Warcry. They're not the best painted. These were quickly done for a game that I was playing, and I needed to put a small little band of guys together. But you can see the versatility of the kits. I mean, I've got guys with crossbows here, a variety of different hand weapons, and so there is the ability to produce from those kits a good variety of units suitable for playing with Warhammer Fantasy. Next manufacturer we're going to look at is Perry Miniatures. They predominantly do late medieval So you do it from the 13th century onwards. So the only ones I would use as Bretonnian are the ones from the 100 Years' War, from Agincourt. And we've got the English army here. This box will give you 36 miniatures. So that's 24 archers and 12 men at arms. As you can see, those are the what the archers look like. Now, the difference with Perry's and Fireforge is Fireforge are more heroic scale 28, whereas Perry's are more true scale. So with Perry's, you're getting a slimmer, more accurate looking figure, and they are similar in comparison, very much in comparison to GW, whereas Fireforge are closer to the same sort of scale and size as to GW. And this is what your men at arms will look like. Full plate armour with a variety of different sort of hand weapons. The next is the the French infantry. And these are predominantly men at arms. There's no, you won't get any archers in this box set. It's just men at arms in a variety of different types of armour, from plate to padded gambians, and some with chest pieces, and chainmail. There's numerous weapon options with this set. As you can see there, you've got everything from double-handed axes, spears, swords, falchions, crossbows. This one is quite a versatile kit. It gives you quite a lot of options within there. So next they do is the foot knights from the Agincourt. These guys will all be in plate mail. So you get a good selection of different weapons to use, and then they are pretty much a one piece, apart from having to attach the arms. So they're quite a quick and easy kit to build, and you do get a good selection, as you can see, of different weapon options. Again, you get 36 men at arms. These are supposed to make up 18 English knights and 18 French, but you can mix and match them into your army because you're doing Bretonnian, so it doesn't really matter. And then we've got the mounted knights. And as you can see, these are very much in the same style as what you've just been seeing. It's all plate armour. Helmets are typical of the period, along with the weapon options. You get 12 in a box. Now they are built. I mean, they work perfectly fine within a Bretonnian army. I mean, even Empire, you could probably slip those in as a knightly order within an Empire army quite easily. And like I said, these are true scale, so we will be slightly thinner in comparison to 28mm heroic. Anyway, the next one I'm going to move on to now is Futsaw. So we've looked at two manufacturers that produce plastics, which is great. But then you're kind of going to want something a bit different and a bit more individual for some of your heroes and your commander. And we're going to look at a company called Futsaw. and there are some options in from Futsaw which you could use for your heroes, your generals, and your commander of your army. These mostly produce in metal and in some cases resin, but they have some great options. So let's take a look. Futsaw are a small UK company, and they produce a range of miniatures for a number of games. Test of Honor, which is feudal Japan, Gangs of Rome, Mortal Gods, which is ancient Greeks, and the Barons' War, which is the one we're going to be looking at now. The Barons' War was a period of in UK history where the barons of the land basically rebelled against the king. And they do a range of miniatures that not only character miniatures, but they also do ordinary sort of individuals and sets. And as you see, we've got Richard the Lionheart, Robert the Bruce, and various other individuals. Now, one of the things they do is this group of Templars, which would make very good Grail Knights, and you get 4 for £9, which is pretty well priced. It's a bargain, to be honest, if you compare it to Games Workshop prices, and these are supplied in metal. Then we have, you can buy now Mounted Knights. These are in packs of 2. These come as metal, and I think either plastic or resin parts. I'm pretty sure the horses are plastic, and then the chaps set on top are metal. I've got a couple in my. I'll double check in a minute when I'm doing sort of unboxing. And so this individual I quite like. I'm definitely picking this guy up, even if it's just to use him more time. So you can pick up single characters like this from Futsaw, to sprinkle into your army, into your units as commanders, heroes, and then you can buy famous characters which you could use as your general, and they give you the mounted and the dismounted version. Got Robert the Bruce, if anyone wants old Bruce commanding their Bretonnian army. And then they do things like the Veteran Sergeant Command Group. I picked this one up because I particularly like this chap here. And overall, Futsaw have a good range of miniatures covering the Barons' War, and they've just recently brought out a expansion for the Crusades, so you can purchase Saracens. So if you wanted to do an Araby army, you could build an Araby army using miniatures from here, because they've got a selection of miniatures for the Saracens. So like this. So you could build a Araby army, and Fireforge also do Saracens as well. I said before that I had the knights from Futsaw, and I do, but I forgot that I bought mine when I bought mine they were part of the resin mystery box. So I do have them, and the horses are metal, but my riders are resin. But if you wish to purchase them, normally these guys would be metal, not resin. That's any difference, but yeah, they're still nice miniatures. They come with bases and all the rest of the gubbins, and everything is metal normally. But they are quite good range from Futsaw. They're good quality. I just forgot that mine were part of the resin mystery box. So we looked at some of the options out there. Now I've picked Perry's and I picked Fireforge because I think those are the best options for plastics for this period that will work quite nicely as Bretonnians. And I picked Futsaw because they do produce really nice metal miniatures, and there's a really big range in the Barons War section, so you've got plenty of choice. And then I did mention that if you wanted to build an Araby army, that it was quite possible. Fireforge Games do Saracens, and then there are individual miniature options within Futsaw, because they also now do Saracens, because they've just released the expansion Outreamer for Barons War rules that they produce. So yeah, so there's plenty of other options out there. There's plenty of other manufacturers make metals in the medieval period. So basically, just if you don't want to buy Games Workshop, there are a lot more options out there for you, but you need to look in the historical market for those options. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.